Oh, sorry about that. We'll start over. Good afternoon. Welcome to the June 27th special meeting of the Glendale City Council, being called to order at 4:04 p.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, council members Asadrian,
Here.
Divine,
Here.
Kasakian,
Here.
Najarian, Mayor Brotman.
Here. And may we please have your report?
The agenda for the Tuesday, June 27, 2023 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And our first item of business?
Our first item is City Attorney regarding authorization to join Public Risk Innovation Solutions and Management, PRISM, Joint Powers Authority, and annual insurance policy renewals for fiscal year 2023-2024. A resolution authorizing the city manager or designee to execute a joint powers agreement with PRISM and memorandum of understanding of PRISM's General Liability Program 2 and its excess workers' compensation program. The motion authorizing the annual renewal of liability insurance policies for the city's property excess liability, workers' compensation, cyber liability, and other miscellaneous coverages for 2023-2024 fiscal year in an amount not to exceed $7,724,283.97.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Galanian.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Brotman, member of City Council. As you know or may know, due to changing market conditions over the last couple of years or so in the insurance industry, that has resulted in significant increases in premiums. And as such, staff has conducted research on the feasibility of joining an insurance risk-sharing pool, and have concluded that the best case scenario would be, and the request and the report is to enter into a JPA, Joint Powers Agreement, with the acronym of PRISM. And I'll invite Ann Maurer from City Attorney's Office to provide some additional detail for your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Everything in our report is the same, but I think as you heard, there's been sort of a last-minute modification. Just a couple hours ago, our broker called us to let us know. Well, let me back up. Our report and our briefings recommended that we join the Joint Powers Authority with PRISM, and that would be for our excess liability coverage and for our workers' compensation coverage. Our recommendation stays the same for the excess liability. We still think we should join PRISM for all the reasons set forth in our report. Just to summarize, it was the fact that we will have lower deductibles, so lower self-insured retentions, and higher coverage. So instead of $25 million, we're now going to have $35 million in coverage, and we were only able to get those deductibles and that coverage through PRISM, which is the risk-sharing pool. So we're still recommending that we do that for our excess liability. But the hot off the presses information is that our incumbent workers' compensation carrier a couple hours ago, in an effort to keep our business, reduced their proposed premium by about, I think, $80,000. So it's instead of $657,806, it's $677,092. So it's an $80,000 reduction, which brings it below the PRISM proposed premium. And so in this instance, because it's all the same coverages under either one, and we would not be in a pool, so there'll be no risk of any shared risk or any assessment against us, we think it makes sense at this point to stick with our incumbent carrier for the workers' comp, go with PRISM for the excess like we planned, and then everything else in the report would stay the same.
Okay. Is that it? Is that your entire report? Or?
Yeah, if there's anything else you'd like me to address, I'm happy to. And the amount, I have modified the motion and the resolution, so the resolution now would just be to enter into an MOU for the excess policy. And then the motion has a reduced amount. It was $7,724,283, and now it will be up to $7,451,812. So those would be the differences.
Okay, and is the PRISM pool only for the excess liability? I thought it was also for some employment related.
Yeah,
and,
so It
And-
will
and-
include the public employees and the law enforcement. The big difference with the law enforcement, as I think you may recall, is that previously we had a $5 million deductible and we had to pay or buy an extra policy to buy down that deductible. And under PRISM, that will be included. And then we also have our other policies, but those are not pooled. So maybe that's the confusion. Only the excess liability is the pooled part. So if for some reason down the road, like we talked about, if one member of this pool or there's some large loss that needed to be shared, that would relate to the excess, but not to the other coverages.
Okay, so the list, in the staff report, there's a list of these different categories that we insure against.
Right.
Property, excess liability, employment practice, fine arts, there's that whole list. So just to be clear, it's only the excess liability that we are bringing under the pool?
Yes, I'm sorry, I have my Alliant representatives here, and I am confirming that that is correct.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
that's the only thing that would be pooled.
I see. Okay. Questions or comments?
And that's, that excess liability is $5,500,000?
The excess liability, it's 5,000,003, that was an up to or not to exceed amount, but the actual final amount is 5,334,684.
Okay. And then the final premium, the $7,285,000 changes to what?
So the 7,285, I think, Councilmember Devine, you asked me this in our briefing, and I think I misspoke.
Oh,
That
okay.
number is correct, and then what we add on is, at the lower part of that form is the GWP property premium. That's completely separate. We have a different broker for that.
Okay.
And that one's the 438,290. So it looks like the total amount will not exceed, and I prepared an amended motion that you should have before you. The final number is 7,451,812.97.
And this is more than our current.
So
However, the savings
Right,
justify.
so the excess liability, the difference is about 200,000 if we stayed with our incumbent, but with the incumbent, we're getting less coverage, 30 million instead of 35, and our self-insured retention would be 5 million instead of 2 million. And we think in light of jury verdicts and just
Yeah.
things that are happening, it makes sense for us to have the lower deductible.
Right, okay. Thank you, I agree. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? No? Councilmember Kasakian?
No.
You're good? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
And that would be for the revised motion and revised resolution.
Okay, the revised, well, the resolution is, we're revising the resolution to remove workers' comp,
Correct.
and then the motion, we're changing the dollar amount.
I just wrote something very.
Okay, so we have, so was that Councilmember Devine? Move the resolution
I
and
know
the
that.
motion,
I'll second.
and second by Councilmember Asatryan. And roll call, please.
Thank you.
Council members Asadrian,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes,
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian, Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Very good. That was efficient. Okay, next item, please.
Next item is Public Works regarding professional services agreement for parking management services. A resolution dispensing with competitive bidding and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute an amendment to professional services agreement PSA number C105715A with Modern Parking, Inc. for parking management services for 4 downtown Glendale parking facilities, extending the PSA duration for 1 year and increasing the amount by $2,869,524. B, resolution of appropriation for parking management services.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Galanian.
So, Mayor Brahman, Member City Council, the intent of this item and staff report is to request council to dispense with competitive bidding and award an extension to Modern Parking for 1 additional year to provide parking management services at all of our 4 downtown parking garages. And this would afford staff some additional time to be able to complete the RFP and issue an RFP for the next round of parking management contract. With that, I'll invite Tad Dombrowski, our parking manager, to provide you some additional details.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brotman and council members. The item before you today is a one-year contract extension for the current operator, Modern Parking, for parking management services. This contract provides a variety of services for the Civic Center Garage, the Marketplace, the Exchange, and the Orange Street Garage, including revenue collection, security, janitorial services, as well as a host of other maintenance and operation services. So it's just, the item itself is just a one-year contract extension, as Mr. Galanian said, to allow for time for a comprehensive RFP. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I'm happy to,
Question,
I'm
Councilmember
happy,
Hill?
no, I have no questions.
are
but
there
I'm
any
ready to move.
questions?
I don't.
I
I do have comments.
Yeah, I have a comment as well, but I'll allow.
Okay. Councilmember Asatryan first.
I struggled a lot with this since the report because we had this discussion just 2 weeks ago. And yet again, we have in front of us a contract that's expiring June 30th, and it's being brought to us on June 27th. Noting that if we don't approve it, we're going to have adverse, it's going to have adverse consequences. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I am supporting this because it's just a one-year extension, with the understanding that we really are going to look at our processes on how we bring these things back to us in a timely fashion that allows for us to actually be able to make the decisions we want to make on these. So I mean, that's all I really have. And I don't know about it. I don't know if we're going to go through a separate process for the RFP and if this is the right time to note, but I think one of the times that we were talking about the parking structures, I had mentioned for us to look into how we make it accessible for people with disabilities now that it's automated. I would really request that we look at that as we're putting out the RFP, because these automated systems don't allow a lot of people with disabilities to be able to use them. So if they can do it on an app or a different way to pay, then please look into that and have that as part of the RFP. But other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, good. Councilmember Kasakian.
Somewhat similar to those comments, only to say I'm glad that we're starting the process early enough so we don't have what we were faced with last week. So I think that granting this extension, which I believe is allowable within the contract of that we have currently with the operator, is it not? And so, which is why we have these extensions. We know that, you know, it was COVID, whatever else. So I think now we will have ample time to not only do the RFP, to bring it back and then award it to the most responsible bidder. So thank you, and I will support it. That's all.
Okay. Just a question. What is the utilization of our parking structures? How has that changed pre-COVID and since COVID? Are we back to, you know, where we were?
Mayor Brotman, it has changed drastically. Pre-COVID, I would say the usage was somewhere in the 80 to 90% range, and they would fill one. It's hard to put a simple number on it, because if it's full one day but it's 40% occupied the next, how do you? And with events and other things, it's hard. But looking at it from the broad trends, we had a huge amount of usage. The pandemic killed it to almost nothing instantly. And then it's been a slow build back up over time, with a couple hiccups that came during the normal COVID processes. But I think now we're probably back to somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% where we were. And that's just a general feel for both the visitors that we have coming through on a regular basis, the employees that purchase monthly parking on a regular basis. We're getting close to where we were pre-pandemic. We just aren't quite there yet.
So about 80% recovery is
Yes.
what you're saying, overall. Yeah, obviously there are times of the day when it's empty and other times when it's packed.
And it's, Mr. Mayor, it's different from parking garage to parking garage. It's not consistent across the 4 parking
Right,
garages, I
right.
believe. And Mr. Dombrowski can confirm. The exchange parking, I believe, is almost 100% full. on a
Correct.
regular basis, whereas the Orange Street parking garage, not as much.
Right, okay, thank you.
Comment?
Councilmember Devine.
Yeah, I just want to say we've probably all been getting emails about lack of parking because of the al fresco dining, but if the parking structures are 80% full, then there is parking available. All is not lost.
All is not lost. There is generally parking available in the parking structures. They do also have occupancy counters on the outside of them, so that if one is full, you could go to the next one, and they're only within blocks of each other in the downtown. So it's very walkable between the three structures as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so did you,
So I will
you'll
move the item.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Devine,
I'll second.
a second from Councilmember Kasakian. And this is for 2A and 2B, just to confirm. Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Asadrian,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian, Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Thank you. And I guess next is adjournment?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned at 4:20 PM. That was good. Okay, we're ready? Okay. So we will call to order city council meeting at 4:21 PM. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, council members Asadrian.
Here.
Divine.
Here.
Kasakian,
Here.
Najarian, Mayor Brotman.
Here. And may we have your report on this, please?
We have one closed session item. Item A, conference with labor negotiators. The city designated negotiators attending the closed session are Rubik Golanian, John Tachtalian, Jillian Van Meiden, Paula Adams, Amy Martin, Jason Bradford, Mark Young, and Peter Brown. The names of the employee organizations are Glendale City Employees Association, Glendale Management Association, Glendale Police Officers Association, Glendale Firefighters Association, and IBEW Local 18, Unit 40. Unrepresented employees, executives, and confidential employees.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Ms. Van
Mayor.
Meiden, do we anticipate reporting out on any of these items?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we will recess to closed session. Thank you.